Hello.
All right, guys. So we're going to talk about body language here. This is a normal kind of standard pitch that we're going through. Now, there's a bunch of different little tips and things that work really well when talking to a customer, and it has a lot to do with your body language, right? Now, first off, in you got to know your pitch really well to be able to pay attention to body language. If you don't know your pitch or have your pitch memorized, and down to science, down to an art, you're not even going to have the mental capacity to pay attention to the stuff that you need to. So first off, when I'm coming up to the door and approaching the door, it's very intentional that I'm looking down at my iPad, right? I'm not. It's almost like they're interrupting me. Okay, and so when they open the door, it's not a hey, how you doing? It's slow, right? And as you can see, this is a habit of mine. I grab my badge, right, and I move it forward so they can kind of see it. I look down at it so they look down at it. What you'll start to see, and you'll see this throughout the video, is that you'll see a lot of mirroring going on. And what I mean by that is I'll do a certain gesture, I'll do a certain thing. If sometimes you prop up against the door jamb to slow down your tone and your speed, and you'll see the customer do the same thing. So let's kind of go through this here.
Sorry to bother you. You're the homeowner here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Eric with V3 Electric, just here about the utilities. You guys were set up with PG&E on their standard rate program. You're not getting the discounts here, right? The care or medical?
No.
Okay, cool. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
They're pretty hard to get qualified for. Not a lot of homes are eligible. There is another discount some of the homes out here are eligible for, though. This one is not based off of income or age or health or anything like that. It's actually based off energy consumption. In this case, the more you consume, the more likely you guys would be eligible. I'm sure you're familiar by now with how PG&E bills you on the tiered structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I want to point out here is eye contact, right? You'll notice that I'm looking at the customer, right? But I'm not staring them down, right? This isn't a staring competition, and I've seen reps that have done this, and they're just like burning into their soul there. That's not what you want here. You want a good balance between when am I looking up, when am I looking down. I'm paying attention to my iPad, especially when I'm talking about, hey, is this you're not on any discount here, and not that you almost want to see like you're right. They almost want to know what you're looking at on the screen. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of curiosity that's built in what you're looking at and paying attention to on your screen. So let's keep rolling this.
They start you out pretty inexpensive, 20 cents per kilowatt hour. The problem here is they only give you a little bit of time in that first tier, right? And so a lot of neighbors, and the Johnsons next door, obviously, they have kids and stuff, but most of the neighbors out here, they're blowing through this in the first week to week and a half.
So a couple things I want to point out here. When you're talking, you'll start to you almost like you're painting a picture with your hands. You know what I mean? You're creating imagery. You're right. It's not too much hand movement, but there's definitely some hand gestures. And this is an important piece right here. And what I'm doing when I turn the iPad and look down, almost out of the corner of my eye, I'm looking at them to see if they're coming forward, right? So not only am I paying attention to how far I'm leaning in, I'm not leaning in too much, I'm not getting too close, but I am kind of breaking the barrier. And in a situation like this, in a door like this, where it's open, it's full, the door's open, and obviously there's a screen door there too, which adds another kind of thing to pay attention to. But right, it's a pretty open, she's open, so I'm leaning forward. I'm kind of breaking through that threshold, through that barrier, and kind of seeing what her reaction is, right? If she moves in, or if she moves back, right? Then I move back a little bit, because obviously she's not comfortable with me kind of coming a little closer. So yeah, pay attention to that.
A lot of times, they spend a lot of time in the penalty tiers, tier 2 and tier 3. that's where some of those higher bills come in during the summer. So what we do, we have what's called an interconnection agreement with PG&E to do this, but we come in and actually eliminate the tier structure altogether.
So this is real subtle, but you'll see it. You'll see what happened right here. When I start nodding my head, she starts nodding her head, right? And again, this is really subtle. It's not a big nod. It's just this slight little nod that I'm like, you know how it gets up there and it gets expensive, and you've seen this, right? And I'm nodding my head, and she starts nodding her head. This is all little tips, you're getting little yeses. When they do something that you do within the body language, you're getting these little, agreements, I guess I should say, along the way.
We provide power at a flat, fixed, predictable rate. So obviously you guys save money. Now we're only interested in doing this for homes that spend enough time in those top 2 tiers. During the summer, what's one of your higher bills here?
Like close to 600.
Wow, dang. Okay, you're getting up there. In the winter, does it ever get below 60 or?
No, it's still at least 100 every month.
Okay, cool.
So pretty intentionally, I kind of, I want to point out kind of how I'm keeping my weight there, right? You don't see, I'm not leaning forward, right? There was a time where I was leaning forward, and now this is a time I'm kind of back a little bit. As you can see from my legs, I'm not squared off, right? Look at my shoulders. I'm not totally squared off. I'm at maybe like a 45. At least that's what I'm shooting for, is like a 45-degree angle. And then you can see that all my weight is on one of my legs, right? You see how you can't see the whole leg, but you get the idea. It's a kickback. It's a kind of pressure on one leg, bending the other, and then my hands kind of come up on my iPad. As I'm asking the question, I wanted to open up a little bit here as far as her bill goes.
So it definitely sounds like you're using a fair amount, and you've probably noticed yourself getting in those higher tiers. I don't know if you've paid much attention, but and it's not getting any cheaper, obviously, as you know. So
just quickly on this, don't be afraid. I mean, this is kind of more than halfway into the initial pitch. This is where, I mean, you can smile and your personality can come through a little bit, and again, that's you get a good sense of if they're following along with you, and to the point where you can analyze these things and look at these things and pay attention to what you're doing, and am I smiling? Am I smiling too much? Am I not smiling enough? It does matter, and there's a right spot for it, and you should have that planned out of when you kind of chuckle or when you smile.
We do have to create this energy somehow. We do it through 100% clean energy methods through solar. Now, I'm not interested in selling you solar or leasing you solar panels or anything like that. What we do is, if you guys qualify, we actually pay for the system here for you. So we pay for the system, installation, maintenance. You guys simply just buy the power that the system creates at that lower rate. Okay.
So as you can see, I'm using my hands a lot, right? I'm kind of listing off. I'm right, 1, 2, 3, 4. We pay for all this stuff, type of thing. We cover all this cost, and then I'm coming in with my hands. We're eliminating it, right? All this stuff starts to paint this visual picture for the customer. So
I mean, you guys know, you've probably looked into solar before. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, I don't think a solar system is something we could afford right now.
Totally.
Honestly.
I'm totally with you. And a lot of the neighbors are saying the same thing. It's, they start looking into it, and then they're like, okay, it's going to be $30,000. It's going to take me 15 years to recoup my investment. Like, it's a big investment.
Right. I'm shaking my head yes. I'm shaking my head no. I'm shaking yeah. It's expensive, right? And she's picking up, and we're right. I'm understanding what she's saying. She's understanding what I'm saying. We're getting on the same page.
And so, as you can imagine, in this case, when we're the ones spending that $30,000, right, where you're not spending it, we are, we're very particular on which homes we set up on this program. And in this case, my job is to see whether you're, eligible, whether you use enough power to qualify.
At this point, you should be able to kind of figure out this customer is going to listen to you, if they're going to let you in the house, and even if you can kind of go somewhere with this customer at this point, right? You've been talking to them long enough. You've seen their reactions and their facial expressions, right? And as you're paying attention, this can be the moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to transition in. I'm going to get a bill. I'm going to sit down with them. I'm going to try and either same day this, or at least get a bill, talk about it. If you're a new rep, and then come back with your assistant manager and set up an appointment. But you should get a pretty good idea of kind of where they're at and what their body language is telling you. Where you can take this customer.
Do you guys get the paper statements, or do you get them online?
We get them in the mail. I can see them online, but they send them to us.
Perfect. What I'll do, I won't take up a ton of your time, but on that first page, there's a graph that shows your usage for the past 12 months. By glancing at that, I'll be able to tell you if this is worth my time or your time in looking at. If you want to go grab that real quick, I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Here. Do you want me to take my shoes off there?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, you bet.
So that last clip was important, especially with your eye contact. When you're transitioning into the home, if your eye contact, if you're looking at the customer when you're asking them for a bill, 9 times out of 10 they're going to tell you, you know what, I don't know where it is, or you know what, I don't. My husband handles the billing, or whatever excuse they give you. But the key there is to be looking down at your iPad when you ask it, and then when you ask them to go see it. And again, I'm looking out of the corner of my eye of what's going on, what the body language is. Is she turning to go and get the bill? Is she right? Is she moving in the right direction? As soon as she starts to turn, then I start to wipe my feet. Right? I look down, I'm wiping my feet, and I'm asking, I'm sorry, do you want me to take my shoes off here? Right? And I know I can transition in. So again, by analyzing not only your body language, what you're doing, your hand gestures, your eye movement, your stance, your position, but also paying attention to what the customer's doing, reading their body language and what they're saying, and this stuff is crucial to creating a good pitch and really knowing what getting bills, transitioning in, and making things happen.